All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks so much for attending our presentation. For the past 2 years or so, much of the world's been captivated by the arrival of ChatGPT. The buzz, the excitement has all been around the technology, though. LLMs, RAG, fine-tuning, multimodal, billion-plus parameters. Just seems like the list of acronyms and technical jargon grows. But really, the true buzz should be around how this technology will enable humans to realize their potential like we've never seen before. Not just as individuals, but for organizations seeking to innovate. Innovation is what we believe humans were meant to do. And AI is a tool like nothing else we've ever seen to help us achieve that objective. That's what we're going to be exploring in our talk today. My name is Andy Lind, CEO.
And I'm Jenna Camera, Chief Customer Officer at Provoke. But don't let those titles fool you guys. At the heart of it, I'm a UXer and designer, and he's one of those engineers. I started my career at a digital agency, and man, that was fun. I mean, if you guys have ever worked with an agency, we do ridiculous pitches. The presentations are very snazzy. But in the end, for me, the presentations just weren't enough. So it started, with a few presentations, right? And those ideas were great, but they never actually made it anywhere, right? Well, then it went one step farther, right? Working on a mobile application, moving from user research to design to usability testing. And man, it was going to be a game changer for a major airline that actually flew yesterday. Only to be, when we handed over development, for them to say, you guys, we can't do that. What were you thinking? Why didn't you talk to us before you started, right? And yeah, I get it. It's 10 years ago. Agile's changed things, and so on. But at the moment, right, I was thinking, what am I doing here? All these great ideas, and they're not seeing the light of day. So I went to startup, fell in love with the power of small cross-functional teams. And yeah, we were getting MVPs into market within 3 months. They were getting in the hands of users. We were getting that constant iteration and feedback. But boy, I miss my work being in the hands of millions, right? And seeing the impact that it could have that scale, which is how Andy found me. My ex-agency friends, knew Andy, and Andy was looking for somebody to help him bring back that thinking to enterprise. How do we help enterprises move faster? How do we help them get user experience and development working together with agile and product mindset to actually get ideas into market faster? And it worked, kind of.
Well, it did work. Jen and I have worked together for 10 years, and the last company we worked with had a nice exit, so I know it worked. But let's get back to that kind of comment in a second. Talk to you a little bit about my background. So as a child, I was always fascinated by technology and its interactions with humans. I've been programming since I was 10 years old. This was back in the day of Commodore 64s. Didn't have a computer. I wrote my programs on little pieces of paper. My parents would take me to Kmart. I'd run in there, type it in, and go, oh, it didn't work. What happened? So that's when I fell in love with it. I watched shows like Knight Rider. Whoever watched that show, right? Totally blew my mind. Star Trek. Movies like Short Circuit, Wall-E. And I always thought that was a fantasy, but not so much anymore. Talking cars, pretty close to getting there. Self-driving cars, they're already here. At that time, though, I didn't realize that all of those stories were all about freeing human beings from doing the boring, the rote, the mundane. Now, having been a professional in this industry for 30 plus years, that fantasy world is becoming more and more true to have real solves for enterprise problems burdened by that same misuse of human talent. So let's get back to that whole comment about kind of user experience in engineering. It's always a love-hate relationship. When Jen and I first met each other, we did a lot of impressive things. We collaborate well together. We feed off of each other. Clients feel and see this. But what they don't see is the arguments, the butting of the heads, the nearly hanging up on each other, the number of times that she's nearly quit on me. And when you look at why is that? Why is there so much of the butting of the heads? It all comes down to, again, we have all of these boring, mundane tasks that create misunderstanding, misconceptions. She thinks I'm a dev that's just lazy and can't get more features and functions done. I don't understand why she cares about a pixel being 4 pixels off. Who's really going to notice? But these little things do matter, and all of these things create friction, not just for us as individuals, but for us working together as teammates. But I think we're on the cusp of solving that.
How many of you guys have seen this bush go flying around?
This one?
Oh, probably a lot of you by now. And I think as we all kind of saw and read it, we're like, yeah, that's what we wanted to do, right? I wanted to vacuum. I wanted to iron this outfit, right? But I don't want it to take my creativity away. I want to own that, right? Generative AI has been a game changer. Why? Because it's allowed us all in this room to interact with AI without having to be a data scientist. And we've talked a lot about it. It's an early technology, right? Which can, for some, they feel like it's overhyped because they're not getting the instant results that everybody's claiming it can do, right? But we've been working with clients for the past 18 to 24 months. We've been developing our own IP for the last 18 to 24 months. We can say it's not overhyped. Former Google CEO Eric Schmidt actually says it's underhyped, right? Today we're going to talk about how to make it your game changer, how you start to maybe see those ROI and those results that you've been looking for, but even more than that, how can you actually use it to enable your top performers, and all of you in this room who are here because you're top performers, to scale and do more and focus on the things that you truly want to do. To summarize it, right, we all do a whole bunch of soul-sucking shit that we don't want to do, right? Andy and I talk about the friction, right, between the two of us, right? Because I'm a creative at heart. I love talking to all of you guys about your problems and how we can help solve them and brainstorming and ideating and coming up with those new strategies, right? He loves to talk to me about Excel documents and forecasts. I don't love that, right? But no matter what, these soul-sucking things, if you don't do them, they keep compounding. Let's take a quick poll room here. How many of you guys kind of on a normal day kind of set out a task of to-dos, whether you formally write it down or maybe in your head. In your morning you're thinking, oh, here's what I want to do. Yeah? How many by 5 o'clock have actually made it to the second item on that list? Right? We don't, right? For a lot of us, finally everybody's off Teams and we're offline and we eat supper and then finally silence, I can get done to that work. Well, what if we could change that? What if we could start to change that for our teams, for our people, for our culture? Within your organization, the entrepreneurs and the innovators are there. We work with a lot of amazing enterprises. It's not that the ideas aren't there. It's that the execution of those ideas is hard because of the technical, people, and process debt that enterprises face. To just call out a few stats, right? It's about the process. The last for enterprises that causes that the lack of documentation, the manual processes that plague you. It's about losing the tribal knowledge that's within your organization, whether that's from people moving on to retirement that were on those legacy codes that Andy talks about and everybody worried about, what is it, COBOL? I don't know, some of those technologies, right? Or it's about the cost of your high performers leaving because they aren't getting to work on the technologies that they want to work on.
So before you move on, just impromptu. How many here have legacy application where the requirements are completely out of date and you have no idea how it actually works and whether it works correctly as intended? Nobody? One guy? Okay. This is a problem, right? Because when those people walk out the door, if those people biologically just pass their time, you have a really big risk to your business. Generative AI can be a really strong tool for that.
But let's go back to the example of Andy and I. Andy as a developer, me as a UXer. No offense, Andy, but I've sat in a lot of agile demos. And I don't know about you guys, but all of a sudden the developers are really excited about what they're able to present. They present it, and I'm like, there's a little bit of an awkward silence. That's all.
And we think, how rude and ungrateful. 80-hour weeks, and we go, that's it.
right? Because what I didn't realize in that moment, right, is how much legacy debt and untangling they were doing to make that work, right? And so when you think about that original example of me actually leaving agency because working on a new mobile application that was never going to see the light of day, listen, I flew that airline yesterday. 10 years later, the functionality is finally working. 10 years. 10 years. We mapped out that whole customer journey. Pull up the pitch deck for you, right? And I'll show you the social announcement that it just got released this year. 10 years for that, right? So when we think about it, it's how do we break free, right? Can we leverage generative AI to actually help us be human again, to actually allow our creativity to shine and for it to become realized, right? But something's holding us back.
So there's a lot of naysayers out there. There's a lot of skeptics. And there's probably a few in this room. And that's okay. There is a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt about this, as there should be. But I'll just say this. We're working with a lot of clients right now that are leveraging this technology. They don't have it quite right yet, but they're going to get there. And when they get there, they're going to have a competitive advantage that's going to put many of their competitors out of business. If you're one of the naysayers and you're wrong, unlike other technology hype cycles, this time it could really cost you your business. The pace and the market differentiation that this is going to create is going to be really, really difficult for you to catch up, especially if you're a laggard. It may not even be good enough to be a mainstreamer. But let's just say you're right. Let's just say this is another hype. It's going to come and it's going to go. Okay, we've had those. We've seen those. We're going to see more of those. But to not take action, we think, is the biggest mistake. You have to do something. BAU will be no more in the near distant future. How many of you here use Microsoft Copilot? Good. GitHub Copilot? Okay, more for my engineering orgs. Search and summarization tools? Yeah, they're fantastic, right? These are all great and important part of the journey. But the same people who are raising their hands, how many of your CFOs are raising their hands going, this is a great ROI? Yeah. So we really need to think about our chat pilots and co-pilots enough. But so to get the best return, you really need to move from co-pilot thinking to autopilot. And what this means is being able to scale things without having to throw more humans at it. That's really been our problem. Every time there's a bigger problem, we say, let's go throw more humans at it. And more people doing more soul-sucking work, and in the process, unknowingly, creating more soul-sucking work that has to be fixed later, that just isn't the answer. It's actually how we ended up where we are today. The mounds of technical debt, business debt, process debt. Over time, that soul-sucking work compounds and creates a tax. And that's a tax on your culture. And it further locks up human intellect, creativity, and ingenuity and prevents them from doing what they were meant to do, which is to innovate, solve the real problems, solve the nuanced problems. There has to be a better way, and our thesis is autopilot. So just before I hit play on this little video clip I'm going to show you, this is not an endorsement for Tesla. I am not friends with Elon Musk. But I do consider this an impressive example of autopilot. And yes, I do own a Tesla, and I use full self-driving. This is, I assure you, not basic driving in a straight line. It is responding and behaving in real time, dynamically, with unplanned environmental factors. Want to go ahead and hit play?
I think you're going to have to hit play.
Side of the road, it looks like we got some construction here. We got some people on bikes. No problem with the software. It can handle it all. So it looks like we're going to have to make a right over here where there's a lot of construction. So let's see how it handles this. Most systems, they would be toast with this type of construction. There's no way, most driver assistance cars would even be able to attempt something like this. But as you can see, even a complex construction environment that's dynamic, there's construction workers here, PG&E workers working on the line. It's a very narrow street. It's still able to navigate it.
Now this next part is the coolest part I've ever seen.
Over there, but looks like there's this truck trying to park. Okay, very good. We made it through the construction zone, it looks like. Alright, so we're waiting at the traffic light. You can see here it has the, oh wow, that was pretty good. You see how it moved over to give that car a little more room so that it could turn right because the street is so narrow. So it's not only thinking about you and your safety, but also other cars, other pedestrians. It's really advanced.
So anybody here been to San Francisco, lives in San Francisco? Even humans driving through the streets of San Francisco is a feat if you can navigate through that. Jenna, you had all sorts of doubts about Tesla and FSD when you jumped in my car. What did you think afterwards?
I did. I gotta admit, when he, was on his big hype about the Tesla, I thought it was kind of like California avocado toast, and they were just into their electric cars. But in the end, I was blown away. I never ever thought it was capable. I never thought it would be able to do that. And honestly, as I was doing a 7-hour drive to the boondocks last week, I was thinking, man, I wish I had the Tesla. So it is changing, right? And I don't know. It was much bigger and much more I felt more comfortable with it than I ever thought I ever would. Yeah.
So the reason why I have this clip, and I play this clip to my technical team, is I often get that's too hard. We can't solve this problem, we can't solve that problem. And the question I pose is, if a car can perform these complex behaviors, do we really doubt we can't borrow some of those same technology and principles to perform the rote and mundane, soul-sucking, IT-related tasks, such as engineering, user experience and design, analysis and modeling? I would hope everybody in this room is like, well, if it can do this, this should be possible. Okay, so the next question is going to be, well, does it have failures? Yes, of course it has failures. The media publishes them all the time. But guess what? Humans performing tasks make errors too. Does FSD outperform humans? Depends who to ask. But I can tell you this. If you track FSD last year compared to this year, it's been a geometric improvement. And it's only going to get better as it continues to gather more data. The point is humans make mistakes and AI can too. But over time, my hypothesis is AI has a better chance of approaching zero than humans do. Why? Humans can be impaired. You can be impaired by being tired. You can be impaired because you got distracted. You can be impaired because you're in a new neighborhood that you don't know. AI doesn't care about any of that stuff. So we're going to introduce this concept of a digital coworker. And the way we define that, it's the amalgamation of previous automation technologies along with the generative capabilities of Gen AI and being able to process via natural language processing. It generates output. It integrates with existing tools and processes end-to-end with human in the loop wherever it is that you want. So it's the output that we're focusing on with our digital coworkers, and the governance and making sure that it's not doing bad stuff. You still have the same governance process. Whether a developer that's a human or a digital coworker creates code, doesn't matter. Your tech lead is still going to review those. And they can participate in any number of processing, business analysis, creative and UX, data analysis. The possibilities are endless. By different names and monikers, we're not the only ones doing this. This construct is springing up everywhere. Pretty much think of anything that is redundant and soul-sucking, you can probably solve it with a digital coworker, whether it's in reporting, compliance, sales and marketing, training, HR. So you'll see the video playing in the background. Here's an example of a digital coworker we built to handle code quality issues. Who here runs static code analysis with like a tool like SonarQube? Okay. Anybody as a developer love waking up to do your pile of SonarQube issues? This is one of the things I consider soul-sucking. I hated it. I remember sitting in traffic one time and I'd rather stay in traffic than arrive at my desk to know that I have piles and piles of SonarQube issues to resolve. So everything you see on the screen that's happening, short of the mouse moving around, is a digital coworker. From creating the tickets, working on those tickets, and updating their status. We don't have time to show everything, but if you're really interested in seeing the full demo, please come and find us. But here's the result. This is on an actual project, and we had tracked the human hours, and it was about 15 hours worth of work that we just showed you on the screen. We were able to do that in an hour and a half. So small scale, but we wanted to demonstrate to see, like, this was on a very old version of Claude. We've now rerun this and are tweaking it to work on OpenAI 4.0, and we believe these numbers are going to get better. But it's a 10x ROI. Now that's the kind of ROI a CFO will get excited about. Let me hand it back to Jenna to close things out.
So, like we've talked about, the co-pilots, the assistance, the summarization, it's great, right? But if you're really actually looking for how you achieve that ROI, how you take the mundane off the work, it is about creating an actual digital coworker. Think about, one example of this is a client that we were working with that we started off with a sales bot, helping them do a recommendation engine of what sales to sell, right? But eventually we started scaling that into, okay, not only can it ingest the ask, then it can make the recommendations, then it can actually create the proposal, right? And it can actually put it in ready to review, right? Alongside of that, I can also talk to that digital coworker, that sales assistant, and ask it questions about the work that it did, right? And so instead of it just leaving as a chat bot, it's actually integrating into your systems, completing those tasks end to end for you, having them ready for your review, right? But also you're able to interact with it, right? And then there's a vision of this, right? And which these digital co-workers do start to join our Teams calls. They do start to be real members of our teams that we can interact with and we can get status with, right? And then we can say, and all honesty, I might create a digital twin of myself, did you complete that invoice for me, right? Did you send that off? And I can say, yes, I don't need to be doing that work, right? AI can be doing that work. So I can focus on driving value, having the meaningful conversations with people, right? One of the biggest opportunities I really hopeful for with this thing is when we talk about customer service, is that these digital coworkers can do all that mundane stuff. They can answer all your questions so that when I actually need to talk to a human, I can talk to a human again, right? And so how do you identify what's a good use case? When should I leverage a digital coworker? Well, I think we all have been experimenting a lot in the upper quadrant, generative, right? Is this the sort of work that the technology can do? We've all done pilots, right? I think we are starting to understand what it's good at and what it's not, right? But the question is it really valuable, right? Is it really going to change your business processes? I think it was Vincent who says, is it going to make you adapt to new ways of working, right? And so it is about, is it going to create meaningful change? And then is it repeatable? You guys saw how much work that digital coworker was able to do in just an hour and a half, right? You actually have to have a lot of work for it to do, for it to be powerful, right? You also have to have a lot of data to be able to train it on. When we think about Tesla, right? How did it get where it was? Our former, one of our person on our leadership team had one of the very early versions of the Tesla. That thing was not powerful like it is today, right? But they started early. They experimented. They fell flat on their face probably a number of times. They learned, they pivoted, they grow into what they have today, which nobody is going to catch up to. So I think, listen, a lot of us flew in today. You're probably tired, maybe a little bit jet lagged. So here are the kind of 3 key takeaways that we do hope that you guys walk away with today, right? Number 1, go beyond Copilot. Copilot is great, right? It's a great taste of technology. It does, help assist in those day-to-day tasks. But if you're really looking to see the ROI and those 10x results, start to think about how you can really start to automate business processes end to end, how this technology can then iterate and then generate and then go back into that, and how you get human in the loop to build confidence in that, right? Attack debt, right? When you think about this technology, what's it built on? Historical data that's already there, right? So what is it really good at? Doing mundane tasks that have been done over and over and over again, right? What does that leave? It leaves times for humans to focus on what's never been done before, right? That's the beauty of the technology. Allow and embrace it to do the things that are done over and over and over again, like driving a car, right? And allow your humans to actually chunk out a 3-hour time of the day to focus on what's never been done before, that the LLMs will never know what to do with, right? And then finally, start today. The panel group talked a lot about this. It's about experimentation. For us, the experimentation began with hackathons. What we've developed as a company has came from those hackathons of little small groups in 2 days, just hyper focus on solving a business problem with technology, and the results are crazy, right? But then it is about figuring out how you start to scale that, right? How you start to work with your teams and your AOps teams, et cetera, to make sure that you're within the guardrails. How you learn that your data is bad, right? You don't know that your data is bad until you actually try to start to use it, right? So it is about starting, pivoting early, and safely working within those hurdles. But the truth of the matter is, you have to start now, because if you don't, you will be left behind. This technology is moving faster than ever. What we saw a year ago with the LMs versus what we're doing today, it's crazy insane how much they've advanced in just 1 year. Like nothing we've ever seen before, right? And as we work with clients, we are seeing things being automated end to end in this way that are going to dramatically change business models. So the key thing is, you have to start today. You can fall flat on your face for the first 3 months. That's okay, right? But start today.
Great.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Andy, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Person to read, have questions for them, so they will be out and about. Definitely talk to them and ask them. I think you kind of made an excellent